I kept it fresh everywhere I went. And I think that really did it for me because I performed at my peak at each place I worked at. I was productive at each place. And I kind of like, this was a metamorphosis that I was going through myself. And I felt like everything started falling into pieces, into the right pieces for me, because I'd finally discovered what I wanted. And that was a mixture of being an academic and a clinician and a lecturer. And so it's hard to find that balance, and it's not for everyone. I will tell you, it's not for everybody, because I do remember a lot of people telling me, a lot of my mentors were telling me that I was spread thin and this was not the way to go about, and you needed to pick one thing and hone your skills on that. And I was like, no, I think when you're about to graduate, you need to discover yourself. You need to try everything, and then after a couple years, figure out which one you like the most and then stick to that. So that's where I am right now. I'm still in that mix, but simmer down to more than, I'm really more with BU more than Harvard now at this stage, and with one practice now, and went down the series of the lecture circuit, which I'm enjoying a lot. Doing my own CEs, doing a lot more invited lectures everywhere, presenting at a lot of conferences, and that's fun. I feel like I'm finding my calling, and that's in actually communication and communicating with the future dentists and peers. Does that answer your question somewhat?
Yeah,
I know I went
does.
really broad.
No, it was great.
But once I get talking, it's hard to like.
No, that's a great.
Yeah.
Wow, I think there's a lot of wisdom there. So, however you want to feel comfortable sharing about your new position.
Yeah. So up until last month, actually, I was technically full-time academic at BU. And I'm doing 3 long days, which is equivalent to 4 full days at BU. And I was working 1 day in private practice, and I was working 1 day at the VA hospital. So I was kind of doing 2 days of clinical and 3 days of teaching, and been enjoying it a lot. And then I'm also in the military, so I kept continuing with the US military, and I kept drilling every month with that as well. And I wanted to achieve the best I could at each institute that I was working. And so this position came up with, because again, Kisa, this is something that you need to ask yourself, what do you want in life? Are you okay living in a mediocre life? And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Not everybody seeks, that attention, or not everybody seeks that limelight that some people do. And there's nothing wrong with it. I have friends in my class who are just clinicians, and they're doing very well financially, and they're very satisfied. They have that content in them. I was not one of them. I wanted to go past that. And so I started my own CE thing last year. Last March is when I started my own CE company, and I started doing continuing education events on my own. And I had, I negotiated with Dentsply Sirona to sponsor those events without paying them anything or without them paying me anything. It was a great compromise that we did. It was a great success. I had a lot of people that, just through social media. I did not even have a website. It was all through Instagram and Facebook. And I had a lot of people reach out to me asking me when was the next event. And I found that was something that was great financially. And it was great. I felt really great doing that, because education, again, is at the core of my existence. And I felt like the more and more I met all these great dentists from all across the country, I felt like that was great. I started establishing myself as somebody who could actually make change for these dentists. Because whether you like it or not, all general dentists will do endo. They will. And 75% of the endo is being done by them. Why not teach them to do it the right way? It absolutely, you're only doing the specialty a favor, you're doing dentistry a favor, and you're doing those general dentists and ourselves a favor. And so that part was great. Now, with each, I'll give you an example. When I got board certified, I got a letter from the ABE saying that, congratulations, you've reached the pinnacle of your career. And I was not happy with that, because it sounded like my life had just ended. And I was like, is this it? Is this the pinnacle? And I realized there's no pinnacles in life. At least that's how I feel it. With every pinnacle, there's another summit to climb, and there's another target to achieve. And that's how I've lived. I did my board certification from the US. I did the Canadian Royal College Fellowship. And I applied to be an examiner at the Royal College of Canada. I got accepted as that. Now examining every year. I'm doing that for the Royal College. I became an AE, Educational Affairs Committee member, and then was doing my CE, was doing the army, was working with the veterans,
When
and
do you
then
sleep?
people ask me how I did that, and I was like, I found this eighth day in the week. It's hidden. You just need to find it. But it was something that I was enjoying. I was enjoying doing all these things, and I started traveling a lot for lectures, and COVID brought a lot of challenges, but actually opened up a lot of opportunities. And for me, the biggest opportunity was to connect with the world through Zoom. And I actually really made friends all across the world. During that whole year, I lectured, I would say, at random schools all across the world, and made friends with those, the faculty and the students across all the world. And now with, travels open, I'm getting invited by all those schools to come and lecture in person. And so it's an investment I made in myself that's actually come to fruition. Now I like that, because now I'm actually, meeting all these people across the world that I saw on a Zoom screen. So, it's been great. And then, of course, there was this natural urge in me, maybe it's in my DNA, because my father was the dean of a dental school, that I wanted some leadership role as well. And that's something I've been seeking. And at BU, at Harvard, anywhere. And this position came along at the VA, the Boston VA healthcare system, where they needed a director or the chief of dentistry for their VA system here that includes 3 VAs in the Boston area. And I didn't think I would get it, but I was like, you never know until you apply. And so I did apply. It was a 6-month process, and about more than 3 dozen people applied, and I went round after round, and I made it to the final round, and then got selected as the final candidate to lead such a large institute. So that was the thing I was looking for, leadership as well, and that's the next step in my life. Will I end there? Absolutely not. And I feel like human beings are productive at any given position this is my own mathematical calculation, for anywhere from 3 to 5 years. If you're in a position, whatever position that is, and you've been there for 5 years, it's time to move on. And find another one, seek a higher role, a different role, because after 5 years, I feel like this complacency hits you, and you become complacent, and you cannot resist. It's human nature, and you can't perform at the same level. And again, if that's what you want in life, that's fine. I know there's a lot of people who've been on their positions for 15, 20 years. That's just not me. And I don't think that's the new generation as well. We're always seeking new challenges. And what happens after this VA, I don't know. Maybe there's academic leadership involved in me. Maybe I'll go the entrepreneur route and actually do more CEs. I don't know. I'm taking it day by day. And, and that's what I look for residents when we interview every year. I'm looking for people that will be better than me, and that's again the natural cycle of life. You evolve into somebody who's better than your teachers, even though your teachers will always be your teachers, and then you find that evolution in somebody you find as a mentee, and you're their mentor. Wow. And they learn from you, right? You learn from your teachers, they learn from you, and it's only the natural path of life that every new person has to be better than you. They have to bring something better on the table. Like, I'll give you an example. You're going to be a resident next year in the clinic, right? You're going to be learning from 8 different faculty members, right? Now, I can claim I'm very good at endo. The faculty will say they're very good. And we all, in our respective ways, are great in what we do, right? But you're the only one who gets exposed to all 8, and you get to learn from all 8. Right? So now you know how I work, you know how Dr. Sarkis works, you know how Dr. Brass works, etc., etc., etc. So collectively, you know more than all of us. Isn't that true? You actually know more than all of us, and I always joke with students that you're actually a very modern Frankenstein monster. You have more knowledge combined than all of us. We should expect a lot better than you. And when you go out there, and you make a mark, whether it's in academia or clinic, being a clinician or a lecturer, you're representing us, you're a direct representation or a reflection of us. It should only make me proud. I should not feel challenged by that. And that's human nature. It is human nature. People start feeling challenged by you. I don't see it that way. I see somebody that you've mentored or somebody that you've taught also making big, maybe even more than you. It's a direct testament to what a great job you've done as a teacher. Wow. And that's what I look for residents that come in. I'm looking for somebody that can be a great reflection for our program at BU, for us as faculty, and for themselves to find their own path. And that's what I encourage all of you. You're coming in, don't come with low targets. Keep your targets very high, and don't be one of those people who are like, I'm done. I love how DMD students every year say, I'm done with the last exam of my life, it's over for the rest. No, it doesn't end.
Right.
If you're in the medicine field, if you're in dentistry, it never ends. Learning never stops. Education might stop here, learning never stops. And so that's entirely up to you. Nobody's going to hammer you after you graduate to keep up with this. Nobody's going to hammer you to better yourself. Quality control is within you. It's that little voice in your head that will keep you going if you have that voice. But that voice won't be there if you don't create that. So you need to create that first while you're in residency. And I tell all my residents that graduate, don't wither away, and don't be somebody that is like, let's say, forgotten. I always bring up the saying by Benjamin Franklin about how he used to say, when you're dead and rotten and don't want to be forgotten, then write something worth reading or do something worth writing. And I'm not asking you guys to be Nobel Peace Prize winners, or maybe you can be, who knows, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Right.
But do those little things in life that can create something big for yourself.
Wow.
So that's where I see everybody coming into BU has so much enormous potential. And it's not just BU, Lisa. It's Tufts, it's Harvard, it's NYU, Columbia, every institute. But you will also realize that every institute, every alumni member of their institute is passionate about their institute.
Right.
They feel like they're the best, and they will go to any lengths to argue that they are, and they will claim that they've learned the best. So if everybody feels that way, they should not forget others feel the same way. And you should be as proud of coming out of BU or whatever institute you go to, and be the ambassador for your institute. And if you can't find that, in your identity with that institute, then you're just a lost vagabond. You're really not going to find anything in life.
Yeah.
So find something you believe in, and that usually begins with your alma mater. You went to NYU, I went to NYU, and it's amazing how I've been to other schools after that, and I feel like I owe it to each one because I am a product of all those institutes.
Right.
You owe it to your alma maters to give it back to them, and you do it by being a good reflection of the institute.
Right.
Make sense?
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, I try to say it well.
So, Dr. Chatha, I really wanted to ask you about how your experience at the Harvard graduation ceremony went. I'm very curious, how was that emotionally? What were you feeling? What was that like?
So, that was something funny because talking about pinnacles, when I graduated and I'd gotten board certification from Canada and the US, I was like, I still had that longing in me that there's something else I can do. And so teaching was something I was getting into, and I was like, I'm winging it. I need to look at something that can take me to the next step. And this Harvard program came along, and it's a master's in medical education from the medical school at Harvard, and it's mostly physicians who do this program, teaching physicians, academic physicians out of Harvard Medical School who do it. Neurosurgeons, urologists, pediatric specialists, etc., etc. So I was like, why can't I do it? And so I applied for it, and I was the first dentist who applied for it. There was one dentist before me who was from Chile, but from the US, I was the first one who applied for it, and I didn't know I was going to get accepted. But I interviewed, they liked me, I joined the program, and I wanted to take a sabbatical from BU to do that program, and that was right around the COVID time. And I remember the dean telling me that he wasn't sure if a sabbatical was a good idea because the schools were nervous about letting go of faculty, and he was like, not sure if I'll have the position for you when you come back. So I decided to do the impossible. I decided to do the program full-time while working full-time.
Wow.
And it was crazy. I would not recommend anybody doing it this way. It was doable, but that's because I almost killed myself. I used up all my vacation time to take classes at Harvard. If I had a class at 8 in the morning till 10, I took 2 hours off from BU that morning. If it was on Tuesday on my practice days, I rescheduled my patients or arranged my schedule to allow me to take those classes. It was a lot of, I would say, pressure on my brain, high cognitive load. I almost thought I was going to die, and I thought about dropping out multiple times because I thought it was just not possible.
Wow.
And nobody in my program was doing it this way. Everybody had taken time off from their programs. In hindsight, I did it. That's all that matters. And I feel like when you put your mind to it, I just feel like the stakes were very high, and people had told me it wasn't going to work, and I found that as a challenge. I did it, but I must have aged 20 years along the way. I'm not kidding. I feel like my brain really got exhausted. And so when graduation came along, I honestly, up until this April, graduation was May 26th. April first week, I was thinking of taking, a break or extending it for another year, because I just wasn't sure I was going to be able to make my thesis committee.
Okay.
And then I just, I said I have to get it done, and got it done. The graduation event was very, it was very unique, because I like how all the grad schools and all the undergrads get together at Harvard Yard, and that tradition's been around for a long, long time. And I love how the sheriff of Cambridge and that area actually announces the whole celebration to start, the ceremony to start and end in a very old traditional way that's been going on for more than 300 years.
Wow.
So there was a lot of tradition and history involved with that. I felt proud to be a Harvard grad, but I didn't forget where I was from. And I was very happy that the commencement speaker was the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Right.
And when I learned that she was coming, I'm a big fan of her. I love her, her whole persona, and how she has managed New Zealand as a very young Prime Minister who was pregnant and gave birth during her Prime Ministership. And so for me, when I was there at Harvard Yard, aside from the pride that came from actually graduating from Harvard, more pride came to me because she spoke a lot about Pakistan. And Benazir Bhutto, who was the first Prime Minister from an Islamic country, who was a Harvard grad and a commencement speaker back in 30 years ago, maybe more than 30 years ago. And so for me, it was a moment of, immense pride that the Prime Minister of New Zealand was talking about a woman from Pakistan, who against all odds had made her name across the globe, regardless of what your political views are.
Right.
She did the impossible in becoming elected Prime Minister from a Muslim majority country where, women never could dream about doing that. And so for her to talk about that gave me this, sense of pride of my own identity.
Right.
I've never forgotten where I've come from, back deep inside, I'm still from Pakistan. I will never disown my country. And I always say Pakistan's polluted, it's dirty, it's messy, but it's my polluted, it's my dirty, it's my messy. I can never forget that. So when she was leaving, I knew I had to talk to her somehow. And I was luckily seated at one of the aisles, and when she walked by, there was a lot of security detail around her. I just reached across the aisle, and I told her I was very extremely, I had immense gratitude for her for mentioning Benazir and for talking about women from third world countries, and that I was from Pakistan too. And she was very nice. She actually thanked me for bringing that up, and she said it was a pleasure meeting me, and it was a great moment. And the security detail, the Secret Service did not jump me. So it was great. It was great, and so I added that to my resume, and I could have ended it there, and I'm not ending it there, because then my next step was, and it is still, is my, I also have a dream to pursue that MBA from MIT, and that's what I'm seeking now. That's going to be my next goal. So what I'm trying to say is that, people might say, oh, you're doing all these things because you're not content in life, and I think there's a very fine line between ambition and being content. And Shakespeare used to say that my vaulting ambition overleaps itself sometimes. And yes, it does. It does overleap it, but I think you should never give up. And I'm not giving up. So why should you guys, when you graduate from BU Endo, do you think that's the end of your journey? That's just the beginning. Really is the beginning, if you want it to be the beginning. And so I expect great things from all of you guys as well.
Wow.
Something even better than me.
Wow. Thank you so much for saying
welcome.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to digress a little bit. I'm very curious about your necklace.
Oh,
so can you tell me about it if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is from the Gaudi Museum in Spain.
Okay.
And when I saw this necklace, it was, one thing I loved about this was it just reflected the stage of life I was at during that time. And it's just a circle that goes around a circle. And I felt like that's what we call the circle of life. And there's so much you can do as long as you remain within that circle of life. But there are certain steps in life that you have to take, from being a student to being a husband one day, to being a spouse one day to somebody, to being a faculty, to being a clinician, to being a mentor. And it's that circle of life that basically, it propulses you to move forward in life. And there's some things that you need to follow in life. That's just the way life is. And as long as you follow the circle of life, you make your mark as you go along in that circle, and you just can't go outside it. And now you might ask me what's outside it, and I have never ventured that far, but I feel like life is a one-time, experience for you. Experience all you can, but always stay focused to what your goals are, and never lose your goals, because it's when you lose your goals and your targets in life when you venture outside this circle. And if you do that, then you're lost, and coming back can take forever. And so it's held that meaning for me ever, and I wear it all the time because I just like the way it looked. But it somehow was that abstract meaning for me, that we're all following this circle, and we need to make our mark in the circle wherever we go. All men die. It depends on how you've lived, and it would be a pity that when you die, or when you move on to the next life, people forget you. That's not something I would want for myself or anybody, right?
Right.
And eventually people do move on, but I feel like find that path, create that circle of life, and then follow it and make a mark.
Wow.
So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, very.
It was an
interesting.
abstract meaning to me when I saw this
Wow,
necklace, so
very
I've always kept that.
interesting.
that
Definitely,
way.
especially a conversation starter as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, absolutely.
I had one more question for you. So I know that you've traveled quite a bit throughout
Yeah.
your life. What's something that, this isn't endo related, or it can be if you'd like, what's something that you've seen that's kind of been like a common trend throughout like all these countries in terms of human nature, or what are some, like, what's something that's maybe stuck out to you,
Yeah.
or a certain country or culture or something that kind of like stuck with you?
I think one thing that actually I realized, as I've been to so many different places, is that human beings are social animals. They really are social animals, and they like connecting with the rest of the world. And there's so many similarities. Yeah, we look different. We have a different skin color, but everybody has some basic qualities of a human being. Caring. People are caring all across the world. People are nervous about which way the world is going, and I saw that nervousness across the globe. Wherever I go, people are not sure if this world is heading the right way, and so the ethical, moral standards are the same everywhere, and dentistry is the same pretty much everywhere. That's how I feel. People know what the right thing to do in the ethical dilemmas involved in dentistry, how you should behave as a human being in dentistry and outside dentistry, your personal relationships, and how you interact with other people. It doesn't matter what language you speak, human beings will find a way to communicate with each other. And you can be an introvert, you can be an extrovert. At the end of the day, you do crave that human connection, and I feel like we should not concentrate on how different we are, but how similar we are. And I feel like the United States is a great country that gives us that opportunity, because we have immigrants from all across the world. Canada maybe even more, because Canada has even more immigrants, right? And you realize that a lot of cultures are the same. A lot of meanings in life are the same, and a lot of the family values are the same. And I feel like it doesn't matter where you are, we're all the same. Ashes of diamond, for a friend, we're all equal in the end. And that's something I feel like we need to remember. You might feel that you're on top of the world living in the US. I don't think that's the truth, because I feel like every country has something to offer. The United States has been a great blessing to me, but you can find a very happy person living in Mongolia. We have a resident here from Mongolia that I'm really excited about. And people are happy, anywhere they live in Australia. Yes, it's tough for people who live in poor countries, and poverty is the biggest curse, on mankind. I think that desire to help each other, that desire to help mankind, is relatively the same all over the world. It's how you do it, how you choose to do it. I think it's easier to forget it because you get so busy in life, but I feel that constant reminder of making friendships across the world and finding common ground. In this case, maybe it's dentistry, endodontics, but it can be anything. I was in Finland and I started talking about Harry Potter, and I connected with so many people in Finland who love the idea of talking about the Deathly Hallows, and you connect with people in different ways. I love talking about Shakespeare and poetry or prose, history, and when you talk to people across the world with these things, you find a common connection.
Right.
And whether it was in Jamaica, I went to Jamaica and I saw these mangroves that reminded me of Pakistan, or these old mango trees as well, and I realized how common the commonalities between us. And I think that's something that exists everywhere as long as you keep that open mind. People are different, but people are very similar at the end of the day. We all have the same amount of organs, right?
Yeah.
And same 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2 ears, and 1 brain so far. Unless somebody comes across with 2 brains, I think we need to find that common ground. And that requires a little bit of effort and a little bit of broadening your horizons and opening up your mind to people across the world.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to put you on the spot with one final question.
Yeah.
So, if you could say a phrase that kind of sums up you at this point in your life, or like a quote or something at this stage, is there something you can think of?
I usually talk about this poet from South Asia. You will know Nauman R, and I've quoted him in a couple of lectures that I do, and I feel like it really inspires a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a poem by him, and I'll just go through some phrases in Urdu first. And he used to say, खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से ये पूछे बता तेरी रज़ा क्या है, right? And in English, what he was trying to say was that in life, elevate yourself to such a level that when it's time to write your own destiny, even God shall ask you, well, what do you want? And I think that's how we should live. You need to find that level in your life where you can actually rewrite or write your own destiny, your own fate. And don't just leave it to nature to do everything for you. Unless and until you move something and you make your world move, it's not going to move by itself. And so that's something that I've always said, to finding that within you where even God will ask you, all right, fine, I'll give you what you want. Tell me what you want.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a great way to wrap
it
up.
Is, it is, right?
Thank you so much, Dr. Chatha.
Well, thank you for this,
coming
Lisa.
to you right after a long day at
that's
BU.
Okay. And a beautiful summer Boston day.
Yes,
and sitting outside
right
at 95 degrees.
The School of Medicine.
Yep.
So we should do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.